where we are and where we're going is we need to be funneled in everywhere. That means that the largest amount of people can see your deal so that we have enough people that independent of how much you want to raise, that you can say, you know what, I actually don't want to have retail users from these and these countries. I cannot take institutional money in. I only want people, be it accredited investors and retail. And then you can tailor it and you offer it to the right financial intermediaries with that client base. So this is something that we solve with Polimec.
So that's what you offer projects. But then for investors or partners...
this is where it gets juicy.
The launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys, blasting off with Luca Von Wyttenbach, the co-founder of Polimec, here on the ground in Lucerne. Luca, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jay. Big pleasure to be here.
Very good. It's great to have you here. We had a former, was Casper co-founder as well?
Mm-hmm.
Your co-founder, Casper,
Correct,
used to be on the show.
Yeah.
Now he's building Mythical from one great project to another.
Absolutely.
And so much has happened with Polimec since. We spoke with him before the first crowdfund ever happened. And here we are with, I think, the second iteration of crowdfunding.
Absolutely.
What do you think brought you into Web3?
Initially, it started at the end of, towards the last quarter of 2016.
Whoa.
And I just got pushed in by a friend, like probably like everyone. I heard of it obviously before from some tech friends, from some people doing all the IT stuff. But I was always like, yeah, keep talking. I'm not a tech guy, so it's nothing for me.
Yeah.
End of 2016 was though the call to action where friend of me and we're actually just talking about returns, trading, and I was into option trading mainly. And then there was Ether Delta, the platform where you were able to trade OTC with Ethereum smart contracts. And then I got introduced to the concept of what a ledger is. And one step to another, I basically got into crypto where I was told of, hey, you can actually place a bid or you can place an ask, and that's fully on-chain, and it's P2P. And I was like, there's no centralized order book. They were like, no. And I was like, yeah, but that doesn't work. Liquidity will be very bad. And then the friend laughed, and he was like, yeah, but look at the arbitrage you can do.
Oh, yes.
And this is then how we got in, where you're literally sitting two people at a table.
Yeah.
Both hold the ledger, and we're like 3, 2, 1, go. And one places the ask, the other places the bid, and then you're making 2.5%. And you keep doing that, and you keep doing that. For small sizes, and you're like, that's ridiculous that it works. Why does it work?
Yeah.
So one leads to the other, and you go from a centralized managed order book to exchanges. And this is how you got the full concept of BTC, Litecoin, Ethereum, Ripple, because it was all about transaction speed when one of these exchanges were not secure. This is how you got to the concept of transactions per second, that it mattered.
Yeah.
And you got into the concept of decentralization. And I think in 2017, you went through the full shebang with all the ICOs and all the things you were able to try out.
So you participated in the ICOs?
A lot of them.
Yeah.
And then came one that was called Polkadot in 2017. So you had these ICOs promising these huge game-changer technology.
Totally.
And that was very, very interesting because you saw a way of how you can raise money in capital markets.
Yeah.
And then they're delivering these technologies thereafter.
Yeah.
Everyone that went through 2017 probably knows how insane it was. From peak to nothing, to peak to nothing, to changing the world to nothing.
Yeah.
But it was something that was just incredible, and you had to try out all the things and get involved. And this is how you started the research.
Do you recall any ICOs you invested in that were just
lot of them.
Just totally absurd in retrospect?
One of them, and I'm not sure if we can keep that in, but that will be your call.
Okay.
But one of them that I did is, back then it was called Monaco, for example.
Yeah.
And Monaco was the competitor of, if I recall, it was 10x. It was the credit card for using for crypto. And I was like, this makes a lot of sense. It's very simple. They had the contract with Visa. This should actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So back then it was all about timing. So I went into I think it was the pre-ICO, if not even the pre-ICO. They had namings back then, was ridiculous. Nevertheless, got in one of the very good rounds, wanted to have that card as fast as possible. And somewhere down the road, I think it was 2020, was chasing all the time, when can we use this card in Switzerland?
Yeah.
Came the email that they will do a rebranding. From Monaco, it became CRO, crypto.com.
Yeah.
And then one part of the crypto nature, and it's not crypto, it's how people are dealing with these legislations without having too much accountability, was that I got legal feedback that, hey, if you live in the European Union or in Europe in general, you will not receive CRO tokens for your Monaco tokens. And they gave it as a legal answer, but it was bullshit.
Okay.
So, pardon my French.
No.
It was only some Asian countries that specifically got them.
Ooh.
And there are various stories that they had the same trajectory of the way they either relaunched a token, they did an airdrop. But in the end, what they did was basically cutting out some investors and only giving it to others.
Wow.
Which means you basically took money from some without getting something in return.
Yeah.
But looking at funny ones, absolutely. Like, of course, did bad decisions. Like everything else would be a lie. I mean, one thing was basically a decentralized Spotify.
Awesome.
In hindsight, sounds super ridiculous.
Hell yeah,
right?
though.
Hell yeah, though. It was a fantastic pitch deck. They had fantastic videos, great sales, great story.
Yeah.
Obviously, did not get fought. Then there was the decentralized Wikipedia. They had a very nice concept. They had a lot of people that were also writing articles, reviewing the articles. I think this one, the community aspect was not large enough, but it was interesting. Then you had the decentralized YouTube. Yeah. I'm just bringing kind of the proxies that are very, very obvious. But back then these were basically buckets, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
In each one of these categories, you probably, or I'm just remembering like 10 different ones, and then you try to get the best one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the second best, because you knew these sectors have to come sometime.
Exactly.
2 years later, you're like, no, this should not have come. And it makes sense why.
Funny, yeah.
But
we're going through like the same thing right now with AI, right? It's like
absolutely.
Take anything and add AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that the difference is in AI, you can try it, I can show it to a person, and I can show an efficiency enhancement. So back then it's more dangerous even in AI to find the good ones against the bad ones because a lot is copycat.
Yeah.
And back then, it was rather, or at least the ICO bubble in 2017, it was rather the fight of applications versus infrastructure layers versus ecosystem/environments that you had categorizations of. And back then, the belief was very, very strongly on money velocity, the equation that Vitalik shared of how you had to try to price tokens compared to others that were trying to price valuations, grasping their incentive of future potential revenues.
Wait, what did Vitalik say?
It was the money equation, how you price money, the money velocity versus how the money is getting issued, that you try to find the equation for infrastructure layers, for example, like Ethereum, that you have the speed of finality, how fast the money moves between the holders, how much money supply there is, and how much newly issued money comes. Like how you're calculating the M1 and M2 money supply, you try to use that for cryptocurrency systems that had kind of similar monetary systems. Back then, he issued a lot of, if I'm not mistaken, it was Medium articles back then. And every time he did like once a month, there was a big debate in Reddit back then.
Yeah,
Reddit was quite big.
Yeah.
Everyone tried to find the formula of how do you value crypto.
Yeah.
But back then, it was not about financial markets, how you price a crypto. I don't dare to say that it was about real adoption, but what I actually mean is like cryptos got priced on what you use them for. So you were afraid that a certain exchange would go bust. You need to get your money off ASAP. So transactions per second and block times matter to you. This is what you saw with certain spikes, with certain coins in 2017 all the time.
Wild.
And then you had the funny part where people were like, all right, but all these ICOs are actually building on Ethereum. So the market cap of all of them summed up should actually be greater than Ethereum. So Ethereum must be huge, entailing all the value altogether. And there was actually a consensus back then where people were nodding and were like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. Until some people asked question of like, how is the money actually flowing from these projects if they have traction to Ethereum?
Exactly,
People didn't think that's cool. They wanted to mute you. Like, you should not ask these questions because just be fine, right? Like, the price go up.
Yeah, that's
cool. Right?
That's incredible. This is a hallmark of early stage investing, right? There's all you have is stories. All you have are dreams.
Infinite one of these. Like, Like, it was not only me, like, the people that you met in crypto these days to do due diligence, there were not many that didn't call you insane. If you were absolutely insane, don't get me wrong, you're reviewing a decentralized Spotify. Now, like, let's laugh about it. But
even the due diligence is is bullshit as well. Like I'm remembering, crypto YouTubers from like say like 2018, 2020, and they're like, okay, guys, this is a fundamental analysis channel, right? And we're actually going to dig into the, the on the ground use cases and all these things like that. But that was, you don't hear about any of those tokens anymore either.
No, we actually even made fun of these in 2017.
Yeah.
And this is why we actually also had a team of a couple of friends and other ones that I then casually met at events and so on. They all did the same thing of like, you need someone that looks at the business model. Then you need someone that is looking at the financials. Then you need someone that is looking at the tech stack.
Yeah.
And then you need someone that is reviewing, can I actually use it? Is there actually a value?
Yeah.
And you split the roles because you cannot have the expertise on all of it. Then you get together, you build an opinion, and then you decide, does it make sense or not? And these kind of crypto circles happened more or less everywhere, of at least what we saw with friends in Europe. And these are then people that stick together in crypto, funnily enough, right? You got in together maybe through investing, discussing deals, or check this one out.
Totally, yeah.
First concepts of, do you know what an airdrop is? And then times went crazy, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, are you telling me they're giving me free money? Well, so there were a lot of things that were really, really funny when you then get it so far that you're looking at traditional financial things and you're too deep in crypto and then you only see the crypto elements in it, right?
I want to just say, so maybe this conversation doesn't come off ridiculous in the future as well, that, maybe we're not so much wiser now either. Maybe everything is still overvalued, possibly. However, there is a strong utility in speculation. You need to kind of guess and grasp and at hopes of the future in order to get anywhere. I remember this story of like when people were coming over to the New World, there was this massive speculation market on ships. And people would put their life savings into ships and they rarely returned. But every once in a while, a ship would return laden with treasure and those people would get wildly rich. But without the speculation market, those ships never would have went.
Fully agree. And I think that's a very, very good metaphor because this will always persist. I think there are just things looking at humanity and people, emotions and how we're structured and this is also why we're having cycles. Things will repeat. You can call them the greed fear cycles. You can call them whatever you want. But there's always someone that wants to be better than the other one and wants to have more returns.
Yeah.
And then you have various ways of how you can get returns, various ways of how you can get the most with your personality type. Not everyone can be a high-frequency trader.
No.
Not everyone can be an early-stage investor. This complete different profile.
That's so true.
And in crypto, there are the phases where we call them bull run, things go up, and everyone makes money. And people that know the least, in most instances, make more money than people that are in it for the longer run. But they tend not to keep it over time because they probably lose it in the next couple of years. This is why the ones that are in it for the longer run maybe did not jump on some, let's call them, opportunities.
Yeah.
And this is the wheel that keeps repeating, and especially in crypto. And what we see is that you really need to have patience. Because if you look at it objectively from, let's say, from a financial market perspective, you need to make a couple of assumptions that you land in crypto, right? So the first one is, do you expect that the entire population will have a higher output of the entire planet year over year on average in the long run? Let's say over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
My personal assumption is very strongly yes. Either we're becoming more efficient or we're more people and we're not becoming more efficient. Output will increase. Then you're already making the assumption that, all right, my money is fine in a globally diversified equity portfolio over the entire planet. It should grow over time. Now, the next question that comes up is, do you think technology will enhance the efficiency of the output of the people?
Yeah.
Strongly believe so. Yes. So then you land kind of in the NASDAQ bucket. So you want to have tech stocks diversified globally because you will have a higher annualized return. Now, the next question that comes of that is, do you think there is a need for cross-border money? What I mean by it more specifically is not only the resilience and the decentralization of the systems, but there are some traits of crypto, like the security aspect of it, that you cannot copy in other systems. Now, if we look at the fragmentation or hottest topic as of now, tariffs. And if we look at tariffs I don't think, and market efficiency is very clear on that. You don't want to have fragmented or isolated countries.
Yeah.
We want to have globalizations and we need global trade.
Yeah, interoperable nations.
Exactly. And with blockchain technology and crypto, the method of movement of assets or value on that system, we need that to connect the entire globe and different, not only societies, but humans interacting with each other on that level.
Yeah.
And that's an additional enhancement.
Yeah.
If you do not see a benefit in the interaction of various cultures, societies, and humans interacting, and I'm saying interacting on purpose because it can be the transfer of an asset, it can be the transfer of a messaging, or it can be the storing of a format or a certain file to see where the biggest future lies. But it's really that concept that if you think, yes, that's an efficiency enhancement, meaning all the traditional macroeconomic guys maybe knew something because this is how they define it. And if that is a yes, then this is how you land in crypto after only tech. In summary, it's always like predicting trends is possible with knowledge. Predicting timeframes, no.
Good, yeah.
This is where people are coming in because we try to guess, right? But we can't know it.
Well, I'm glad you bring up knowledge because one of the efficiency gains with blockchain is verified information, right? We have all this trust and guesses in the system, and now we can implement verified sources of truth, right?
Yep.
This, when it comes to investing, like we've been talking about, and like what you just said, information is basically power. When you have information, you can leverage it for bets on the future. You can improve your situation and everybody's. In the ICO time, you basically had online communities, and as you were talking about, gassing each other up, blocking out the naysayers, right? Living on a prayer. And of course, that still exists today. But what you co-founded and what you've been building is actually a tool to cut through that noise and crowdsource a signal of information to make better decisions.
In short, I think the biggest added value is you need to optimize the trajectory of projects that are raising funds. So projects that are raising, you want to be them as successful as possible after the raise.
Yeah.
There are certain factors towards that. The first one is you just put all the learnings from 2017 in a product.
Okay.
So what were the problems of 2017?
Yeah, what were they? The top problems that you're
First one
solving?
is definitely accountability.
Right, yeah.
You were chugging money somewhere, maybe it's gone. But you knew that risk. That's the absurdity of it all. You actually knew it. It's not that you were surprised.
No.
Some people sadly were, but if you were active in the space, you were not.
Yeah.
It was written, it was donation capital on a lot of these deals.
Yeah.
Sadly true.
Yeah.
Now, the accountability is there was no one taking the accountability that if things were wrong, you knew who to go to.
Yeah.
So this is something that we solve with Polimec because you need to know the counterparty. Okay. What that means is I want to raise funds. Then, hey, here I am. I'm Luca Von Wyttenbach. I'm in Switzerland. I did the KYC. Why do I need to do it? Because I will be accountable if I do a breach of contract or I try to scam you.
There you go.
That's the least I expect as an investor.
Yeah.
I need to know for what my money is going to be used.
Nice.
This one we solve permissionlessly and synonymously, meaning if you would invest over Polimec, I can say that all the people can invest except country A.
Yeah.
Now, you're not from country A, so your transaction goes through.
That's
if
right.
you're from country A, you cannot invest. So I am sure that my investment contract got fulfilled with on-chain actions. I can secure that. And the part that we've seen very strongly this year and last year especially is launches in secondary market of tokens. What we see is that there's a huge supply overhang, not only with vesting unlocks, but a supply overhang compared to the demand that will buy the tokens on the secondary market. Now, why is that coming? Because most of these tokens that are going to market, number A, are going to be listed too early. No private equity startup would list 1-2 years thereafter.
Yeah.
So the liquidity is small, that is normal. Problem number 2, they probably sold 5, 10, 20% of their tokens are going to the market and the entire supply is roughly 1-2% when they're hitting secondary exchanges. Then we started the meme coin craziness on Solana and people did not understand what went on there. 2 things really stood out. First of all, the amount of people trading a coin, holding a coin, and the community aspect is essential for the network effects, as ridiculous as it sounds, that can actually be quantified even. And the second part of it is when you're selling a lot of the percentages of your token before your listing, the tokens are performing much, much better.
Right.
Because you're having much higher liquidity on the secondary instantly.
Yeah.
There's higher fluctuation, and these tokens have a better performance.
Yeah.
If you just look at these factors. And this is why the data sample of meme coins are extremely interesting, because as none of them have value, how most people would define value, you have a data set from a lot of charts that you can actually quantify what the difference is. Of course, there's size of tickets that are being invested, investor community, communities, marketing, but you get the point, you can narrow it down a little bit more.
Sure.
TLDR, fair launches, increase performance of projects in the secondary market.
Okay.
And that is proven data. So with Polimec, what we do, and we see the traction of projects that want to raise funds, is from now compared to a year ago, most of the projects are doing the trajectory of I'm lowering my valuation half and I'm selling double the tokens in the round, because I do see a benefit for us, because we will benefit from it the most together with all the investors in the secondary, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
That step for me is a very interesting learning of where the markets will go. And that will be a crucial one as well for the entire development of how projects raise and approach secondary in general.
So talking about problems that we're solving, the first one you mentioned was accountability.
Yeah.
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 And then you were just speaking about what problem does that solve specifically?
So the problem of accountability that it solves is for investors to invest in the deal.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to get to the full investor space. You want to have all the stakeholders in. If I invest in a private equity startup, there could be that I know the founding team or that I don't know the founding team, but I need to know that they're committed. I need to know that they're accountable. I need to know that they hold up the legal contract, and not if something goes wrong or they steal my money and stop working, that tra-la-la, they're just gone.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what it was in 2017 with the ICOs.
Totally, yeah.
This is what we solved with the accountability, because they're undergoing a KYC and the company a KYB, Know Your Business it's called, which is basically the TLDR of I'm here and I'm the ones raising funds. I have a legal contract. These are the jurisdictions that can invest. If something does not go according to this contract, I'm here, I'm your counterparty.
Yeah.
This is just a benefit for every investor investing in a startup.
Oh, that's totally clear.
And this is also why it's mandatory on our end, what we can solve on this front, basically.
But what you were just speaking about with the overhang, what problem is that you were talking about?
This is the supply overhang. This is the structuring of funding rounds.
The structuring of funding rounds,
That's very, very important.
Okay, so when a project comes to Polimec, which is the space that solves the problem of accountability, there are certain standards of token structures, or is it just that they're established up front, or how are you solving that with Polimec?
So the thing of what we're doing with Polimec is when you prepare a funding round, you do the structuring of the funding round, which basically means when are you going to mainnet, when are you going to secondary market, what's your timeline, which investors are the best for what you're trying to achieve at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's a very, very important aspect of Polimec, what we're rolling out right now, is the white label solution. And that is one of the big dreams actually coming true since 2017 of...
Yeah.
In 2017, it was clear that you will use crypto, but you will not know it. They pitched it beautifully in 2017.
Right.
I've never seen a better pitch where I actually believed it. And now we're 2025. I do not know a single application where I'm using crypto that I'm not aware that I'm using crypto, sadly.
Mythical.
With mythical games, when I'm doing the on-chain gaming, absolutely agree.
Yeah.
This is where we're going at.
Yeah. It's beautiful to see.
Yeah, because this is how you get the large numbers. And that's why they get the large numbers.
Yeah.
And we had the same issue when people want to invest in a project. Sadly, we got a lot of calls when they're like, hey, Luca, can you do that wallet on-chain stuff for me? I'm even willing to pay a fee for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, you know what? That will be live in a couple of months, not yet.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but I really don't want to do it. Like, I saw the user guides and so on, but that wallet thing is not for me.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah.
That is just reality, right?
Totally, absolutely.
And with that, we're just very strongly the approach of, there's certain theses that always persist in humanity, like how often do you change your bank account on a yearly basis?
Exactly, yeah.
People don't.
Yeah.
Do you have the best UX in your bank? No, for sure not. But you're happy. I don't think you complain to the bank all the time. So what we're doing is you will then have an additional tab in your bank account and you can invest in early stage private sales.
Cool.
And you hide the crypto technology in the background. So the person can invest US dollars, Swiss francs, euros, certain amount in the background. The user actually has a separated account and the user converts that account will be in stablecoins, for example, USDC.
Wait. You're building this right now?
This is live in a couple of months. And
with what bank?
That one you will know soonish.
But there is a Swiss bank where you'll be able to do this.
There's a Swiss bank, there's a Swiss broker, there's a Swiss family office, and there's a Swiss asset manager.
Sweet.
We're taking one from every category, so you know the pain points on their side.
Oh, cool.
And it is super simple because it's actually not an integration, that's an exaggeration. We have everything on chain. So what we had to build is a full API layer.
Sure.
What you have to do is all the legal, regulatory compliance
processes. Well, that's just it's a liability, right? Like when somebody's like, can you do this wallet part for me? It's like,
You need to automate it fully through.
Right. It's like, technically I can, but do I want to take on that risk?
No.
Like, no. Okay, hold on. For our dear listeners who don't know about Polimec, I have to just get this get the elevator pitch settled here because we keep talking like everybody knows what we're talking about, which is fun. But what's the pure pitch for Polimec?
What we're solving very simply is that we help projects to succeed. What that means is they need capital.
Okay.
We help them to get that capital.
Okay.
What our job is the job that nobody actually should care about, is we're just the tech provider.
Mm-hmm.
But where we are and where we're going is we need to be funneled in everywhere. That means that the largest amount of people can see your deal. So that we have enough people that independent of how much you want to raise, that you can say, you know what? I actually don't want to have retail users from these and these countries. I cannot take institutional money in. I only want people, be it accredited investors and retail. And then you can tailor it and you offer it to the right financial intermediaries with that client base.
So you're connecting offers with people who can accept the offers, but then you can filter.
It becomes much more interesting than that. It's very straightforward if you think it through. I mean, from a project perspective, it's all about I want to be as successful as possible.
Okay.
So beyond the money, I need to optimize my stakeholders.
Yeah.
That's what we offer the project.
Optimizing stakeholders, cool.
That's the most important part. If we know largest investors that are not good holders, which that is normal, that can happen.
Yeah.
We can tell the project to be careful, maybe you should not take them in.
Yeah.
But we're not telling them what to do. We're just giving, and that's the same thing with the structuring. If they ask our opinion, how they can optimize the tokenomics, how they should structure the round, we help on all the areas where we can, where we then can connect with the partners.
Great. So that's what you offer projects, but then for investors or partners,
this is where it gets juicy.
You offer them a great service as well.
This is where it gets really juicy.
Yeah.
Because the white label solution is not, hey, we're cool, we're decentralized, just use Web3.
No.
The offering is, we have an expansion of your business offering for you that does not cost you anything to integrate, that is regulatory compliant, that cuts your cost to zero, that gives you an additional P&L stream.
Yeah.
Now, they're usually like, why should we care? How should that work? And then you basically look, well, from our side, it takes 1 week. But let's be honest, we probably need 3 to 6 months with the project manager, legal and compliance to cover all your questions. Here's the TLDR. We know what they will be asking. Some things are covered. And then it's like we have a fully automated mid and back office software for you. Your end clients can see private deals that you're offering. They can invest in them with 1 click. You have no client asset outflows. You can charge them a ticket fee for participating in these deals for the wallet handling.
Yeah.
Clients are willing to pay this, and it makes a lot of sense because they have a custodial solution. Clients can first time interact over such a provider in a regulatory compliant manner with a DeFi protocol. They don't need to do a second time KYC. Mm-hmm. They're already KYC'd at the bank.
Already in,
and that's the beautiful thing because we found a way how we can connect that KYC with the blockchain directly.
Cool.
So they can have an additional business offering, additional monetization stream that just runs.
So, I mean, you've done a few fundraisers so far. How many have you done? 5?
So far, we've done 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the most you've managed to raise?
So far, the last one was 100 and a little bit above 130K.
And that was the most successful, right?
That was the most successful one, the latest one.
Yeah.
To be fair, markets were not optimal, but I would never blame the markets because it's not about the markets. We had a lot of tech rollouts in the sense of we did the fully mobile application that we also launched with it. But what we thought a little bit is we reached the 130 right now in a moment where markets are a little bit dry. Nevertheless, we had some participants that were unluckily not fast enough, so they were still connected to the projects luckily afterwards.
130K raise, if you try to compare it with like those big ticket raises we see, it looks smallish, but actually for just the beginning of your protocol, it's super impressive. Like 130K is nothing to sneeze at. And obviously it's not like a project's only funding when they're getting going. I think 130K is great for fourth raise. That's cool.
I think it's very essential to understand the trajectory where we're going, because in the end game, that should not matter. We should not matter. Nobody should know Polimec, because it's the software as a service that is included by financial intermediaries.
Yeah.
And if you have a financial intermediary that has a deal they want to offer to their clients, it is cheaper for them to bring the deal on Polimec than to do it off. And that's an extremely important point to understand.
Do you have any such deals in the pipeline?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because in the future, this one we don't have live yet, because we need multiple financial intermediaries live.
Yeah.
Then a financial intermediary can do a raise of a Polimec, and they can say all the end clients of the other financial intermediaries, we get 1% of their tickets. That becomes a very interesting ecosystem, you know?
So far, you've basically been offering to individuals, but really the high volume is going to come from like sourcing deals through larger institutions.
100%.
Yeah, that's cool.
Where we are is, as of now, we were offering deals to individuals in the Polkadot ecosystem that have a wallet.
That's a niche.
That's a niche that are willing to do KYC.
Exactly. That is a niche of a niche of a niche.
What we're going live in maximum 2 months is we will have a proper 5-digit number. I cannot say which one, otherwise with the information I have given, it could become problematic. But it's a mid-range 5-digit number of professional investors that are end clients that have access to the deal. They will be the first one to go live, and thereafter with the bank.
Yeah.
So these people don't need to have a wallet.
Yeah.
They will probably be called from their relationship manager if they invested in similar deals before and it suits their investment profile.
Yeah.
Or they log in and they see, what's that? An early stage, maybe I'm interested.
Sure.
And then they can call the relationship manager, or they press that little button that is new in their UI. And there's a huge part of, we can even bring investors there if they don't want to touch a wallet.
And if the investor management is smart, he's not going to say anything about blockchain or Web3 or anything like that. He's just going to talk about the opportunity.
Yeah, because they don't need to do anything. They don't even know that it's settled on Polimec, because Polimec is the settlement layer. What they do is they invest in an early stage Web3 startup, and then they get the tokens back when the mainnet goes live. They don't need to know the step in between of Polimec. They could if they check the on-chain transaction info, but they don't care. Why would they? They wanted to invest in it, and when they get the tokens, they were waiting for the tokens, right? So they have the separated wallets directly.
So between the first 3 fundraisers and the most recent one, you made a lot of adjustments to address some pain points for those individual investors. But at the same time, you've also been developing this pipeline for white labeling investments through larger firms. For the individual investors, what were some of the major changes you made? And tell me a little bit about the outcomes, the positive outcomes that you saw.
To sum it up, the biggest ones were to offer an additional KYC possibility. What we had with Deloitte was the Deloitte wallet. So end users were complaining a lot to us that they required 2 wallets, a funds wallet, a KYC wallet. And I understand that it's a friction. So we offer SumSub that most in crypto are familiar with, because it's the most used one also in crypto exchanges and a lot of financial intermediaries as well.
I didn't actually use that because I did go through the Deloitte, so I already have one. But
you should definitely do it. The entire user onboarding is completely new.
So I don't need a new wallet for the...
No.
And that, is it a token that just lands in, like how is that made?
You can then connect your wallets, and now you can connect Polkadot wallets, you can connect multiple ones.
So you connect to them and they verify that I've KYC'd with them with this wallet?
What you do is you do a linkage between your SumSub KYC and your funds wallet. You're the beneficial owner of it, right? That's the linkage that happens. You can also link more. And this is what we added now as well, is that you can link an Ethereum wallet.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw a little coming soon Solana wallet too, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you're expanding out of the Polkadot niche, even though it all settles on a Polkadot chain, a Polkadot rollup. You're expanding the options where people can
On the deal flow side,
that's cool.
We're now EVM compatible, that we can support EVM raises. That means all the
EVM
L2s,
tokens, yeah,
exactly,
distributed on any network.
On all the L2s on Ethereum, on Ethereum itself, of course, and as well, like Eigenlayer, data availability layer launched a token on L2, so that one as well, of course. And the benefit for that one is just much larger investment horizon scope universe that we can cover, right?
Yeah.
And for the investors coming back to SumSub, you just have one wallet, like your funds wallet that you want to connect, and not the two. And the second one, in the user experience that we had the most, is the friction of the users, how to participate. And this is also a lot of feedback we got right now, is we cleaned up the entire deposit page. So if you do cross-chain deposits, you select the network, from, to, you press a button, everything is abstracted for the users.
It's an art, but once you nail it, it's sweet.
That's very sweet, but this is something that we already defined that will not be needed in hopefully a month already. So we will probably be able to nail that entire logic in the participation directly. So this is one of the big concepts we're rolling out. It's called the Unified Liquidity Aggregator, something that we're working with in the background, ULA. And this will be a very big one for, we believe, the entire Polkadot ecosystem. It changes that as of now, we have, as a user, we have a chain-centric view. You're telling me that you have USDT, so where are these? On Asset Hub, on Hydration, on Polimec, where are they? Where do they sit?
Yeah.
A user should not know that.
So how does that look technically? Just for the nerds.
We switch from chain-centric view to token-centric view.
Okay, so you're receiving tokens in a bunch of different wallets, or?
No, what we will do is, let's say you have a Polkadot compatible wallet, and token-centric, you want to invest in a project in USDT, USDC, or DOT, for example.
Okay, yeah.
If you choose USDT, the maximum balance you will see is the sum of all the transferable balances on all the chains in the Polkadot ecosystem.
Okay.
You don't see anything else.
Okay.
Now, let's say that balance is 10K USDT.
Yeah.
You hold 4K on them on Polimec, 3K on Hydration, 3K on Asset Hub.
Yeah.
Then let's say you want to participate with 2K USDT.
Okay.
Then it takes the 2K that you have on Polimec, you participate. Now, this is where the optimization problem starts.
Exactly.
Let's say you want to invest more than the 4K that you have on Polimec.
Yeah.
So let's do step one. You have 5K that you invest. So it checks that's not enough of what you have in Polimec.
Yeah.
And then it calculates what's the shortest path to get these tokens here, which is Asset Hub. I only need the reserve-based transfer.
Yeah.
So I'm transferring 1K USDT from Asset Hub to Polimec, and I participate with them directly.
Okay.
You abstract that completely away for the end user.
Yeah.
The end user knows that these tokens from Asset Hub come to Polimec, they participate. But for me as an end user, if I want to participate, I don't want to first go to the deposit app and then to participate. I should not care.
You're done.
It's so essential for all the parachains that we have a full interoperability of the system. And that's an optimization problem we're working on to solve. And this one will have live in a month. And that is a huge UX improvement because after this one, you can use all the tokens in the Polkadot ecosystem completely interoperable. I don't need to know on which chain I hold them.
So at the end of the day, the protocol has some opinion about what would be the most optimal route, and that's what you get.
Exactly. And we basically optimize it user-centric. So minimum amount of extrinsics and minimum costs.
You lose choice, but you gain a better experience and therefore probably way more users.
I don't think you lose choice because a user can still go to the deposit app. And
they can. Yeah, you still have it. Yeah.
Of course. It's just for the ones that are going directly to the participation. We would not cut the deposit app. Just from a lot of feedback that we've received, we think that most of the users would not go to the deposit app first.
For sure.
But they can, you know?
I see. That's cool.
No, it's just to cut complexity away.
Now, how about cross-ecosystem aggregation?
Oof, that will be interesting. So the next step, and big shout out to the Snowbridge team, very important. We're looking very much forward. So I'm not saying the month they told me they're trying to release everything, but Snowbridge V2 will be the biggest leverage on our end because that will be the first time without what we're currently building with a chain flip wrapper for an EVM-based sale that will come soon on Polimec.
Cool.
Is with Snowbridge V2, we will be able that an end user that only has an ETH wallet, for example, MetaMask or Rabbi, that they can participate in a funding round on Polimec in an Ethereum native project
be big.
Without requiring a Polkadot wallet.
Yeah, nice.
So we can bridge the asset and the messaging both from Ethereum to Polimec, and that's essential.
Sweet.
So they don't need an additional wallet, right? And this is the path of, in the protocol TLDR, UX improvements we have an additional KYC provider. We completely abstract the chain-centric view away, that you don't need to know that. There will come the ULA, token-centric view. And last but not least, the entire UX is currently undergoing a lot of changes with the great work from the Puppy team, with Puppy, and now also with the synchronous backing, where we're just going live right now as we speak. We will have a huge reduction in the seconds a user has to wait for every transaction. A very crucial feature in UX.
Totally.
So also there, a lot of work that we were doing is actually going live in the next 4 weeks as well.
Good stuff.
So projects, EVM is compatible. You saw the little teaser of Solana. That one is coming as well. So we want to give the investors a larger investment universe. And on the investor front, onboarding, the fastest leverage that we have, besides the Polimec dApp, is clearly the onboarding of financial intermediaries with the white label.
Sure.
Because they do have the right financial incentives. If I have a deal to offer, but you're not interested, I didn't lose anything. But you're probably thankful that you saw the deal, even though maybe it was not for you.
Totally right.
These investors can then leverage, because maybe they know partners or know people in the ecosystem, so they can also be of additional benefit for the project. That's a very important part that you can leverage.
What about referral features and referral links?
That's the juicy part.
Yeah.
If you as a financial intermediary have a good deal that you're sharing in the ecosystem, they can charge a percentage cut of every participation that comes from another financial intermediary.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing, the Polimec dApp is continuously running on chain. There, everything is available for everyone.
Cool.
But if I, as let's say Bank A, have such a good deal where I'm confident this is going to be oversubscribed, and I let Bank B clients invest as well, because it's my incentive as well, probably, to have more funds in for the project. I want to be successful for my clients.
Of course.
Is then every dollar Bank B invests, which is none of my business, I get a cut of it without doing anything.
I know, that's
so
cool.
They itself have an incentive to bring the best deals.
Yep.
Because by introducing the deals, they not only offer it to their clients cheaper than they could otherwise, but are also monetizing all the others that are investing.
Amazing. This has been a really fascinating conversation. And
thank you very much.
I think it speaks to the elegance of your solution and the beauty with which you're solving an important problem in this ecosystem, in this industry. I mean, I imagine there's some raises coming up. Can you give us any hints of the projects that are going to be using the platform soon, what that's going to look like, if any of them are going to use any of these features you've been talking to us about? What's coming up?
I mean, you heard it before, we are EVM compatible for a reason. So we opened the gateways, so to speak, meaning we reached out to some of Ethereum ecosystem to look what's there, what's interesting, what could potentially be an interesting fit for investors on Polimec to invest in early stage.
Sure.
And we have a deal in the pipeline that comes from the Eigenlayer ecosystem.
Cool.
They will be launching on Mega ETH. And that could be a very, very interesting candidate that will not only benefit from the EVM compatibility, meaning that investors can invest with ETH.
Yeah.
And so we first time enable the Ethereum ecosystem to invest as well. And potentially we're live with the white label as well, with the first financial intermediary to check if we can offer that deal to some of their end clients as a first trial run, so to call it.
Great. What's this project's name?
And I would say stay tuned for this one. There's some very interesting things to come on this front.
Sounds juicy. Built on a pretty hype L2 too.
Yeah, we saw some demand and we prepared everything to be EVM compatible. So we're looking very much forward to have this one ongoing and want to see how the demand is for such an ecosystem and such a deal.
This won't be that situation where they don't need a Polkadot wallet though, right? They'll still need...
On this one, Ethereum investors are able to deposit Ethereum to Polimec with one click.
Okay.
And they can invest the Ethereum on Polimec directly, but they need a Polkadot compatible wallet.
Yeah.
Even though we're checking if we have a workaround for them.
Yeah.
But for that, we will require Snowbridge V2 that will be very close or soon out to have that solution.
It's cool. Any other projects you want to hint at coming up?
So far, not yet. We're having a lot of projects in the pipeline that are coming from Solana ecosystem, actually. From Polygon, we're having one or two. We're having from Eigenlayer Foundation, we're having 3 projects that we're looking into in that ecosystem. So we're currently looking on the EVM side of things, so looking how the investor demand is there to offer this deal. Polkadot ecosystem, try to keep up with the Scytale Polimec Academy.
Yeah,
that one is ongoing, and we'll see the winner mid of June.
Yeah,
and
four
there will
projects,
be
four
very
projects
interesting
in that,
ones. Exactly. And I think
two
there's also
data markets, and the other, what were the other two? They were aligned.
one is an aggregation place for RWAs.
Yeah, and the others were RWAs.
Yeah. And I think that's a very interesting market, that the solutions have a very good product market fit to monetize their offerings directly, actually. Some of them can already start as of now. That's an interesting one. And there are good technologies coming to the Polkadot ecosystem, and we're very much looking forward to the winner of this one.
Yeah. All right, Luca, that was a great talk. I'm so glad we got you on.
Very much. It's a big pleasure.
Looking forward to one that Canada's allowed to invest in. Thanks very much for all the work you're doing. This is a serious problem that your team is approaching so beautifully.
Problem that we're solving is a problem that we're solving that is not solved in the financial market industry.
Yeah.
This is, you're aggregating the demand for primary market deals.
Yeah.
It's an efficiency enhancement.
Yes.
If you go to a bank that you do an underwriting because you're coming with SpaceX, if the bank can fill it, great. But why are you as a bank not sharing that deal with another bank? And if other invests in as well, after your clients, because the deal comes from you, you're earning a fee on it. And that one fully automated, no person involved, entire mid and back office processes, and it's regulatory compliant. This will be big.
Think bigger, man. That's huge.
Very, very interesting.
Thank you very much, Luca.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
It was a big pleasure.